Waycross presents an election forum. For issue 13, a proposed tax levy renewal for the village of Greenhills. When voters go to the polls on November 7th, they will ask to approve the following issue, which reads as follows. Issue 13. A renewal of a tax for the benefit of the village of Greenhills, County of Hamilton, Ohio, for the purpose of current operating expenses, at a rate not exceeding 3 89/100 mils for each $1 evaluation, which amounts to 38 9/10 cents for each $100 evaluation for 5 years, commencing in 2017, first due in calendar year 2018. Good evening, and welcome to yet another Waycross Election Forum. This for issue 13, Greenhills, Village of Greenhills Tax Levy Renewal. My name is Jason Grisgoric, and I am the moderator and host for this evening's event. I'm very fortunate to have joined with me Village Mayor David Moore. How are you, David?
Good, and you?
I'm doing well. We are joined together to discuss this renewal. Of course, we will be opening the phone lines and email here shortly, but we will let you have a 2-minute opening statement to discuss what exactly is Issue 13 meaning to the village.
Okay, it's a general fund levy renewal. It was originally passed, I think, 15 years ago, and it was, at that time it was passed, it combined 2 other renewals into this renewal levy. It generates about $188,000 a year, and would be no increase in the residents' taxes as we know it today. And it makes up about a little over 8% of our general fund budget. So if it were not to be renewed, that would be a significant hit for the village. As an example, out of the general fund monies, we transfer approximately $320,000 a year to the police department for operating that part of the village. And so it is important to us, we basically rely fairly heavy on property taxes to help maintain the village.
All right. Well, with that, I will open the phone lines and emails to you. If you are watching on September 27th, 2017, please join in. 825-3971. Live at waycross.org is the email. All questions will be answered. Of course, make sure that when you are sending an email or talking to our phone handler as well, make sure that you do address the question at hand and no pointed questions. So I will begin. You've already stated annually that it is a generator of $188,000 annually. For a person with a $100,000 home, that mythical home, how much is that going to be for them now?
About $109.50.
And you have already stated that this is just a renewal, not an increase. The purpose of this is, the reason why we're going to the ballot today for this is just common courtesy or commonality?
General fund renewals or general fund tax levies are 5-year levies, and so they have to be renewed every year. So unlike a school levy or a road tax levy, the road tax is every 5 years. A school levy can be passed permanent. We have 3 police levies that we've passed over the years, and they're permanent levies, so they don't get voted on again. Same way with the fire department, and those are permanent levies. So a general fund levy by state law has to be renewed every 5 years. And in the general fund, things that fall into that area are operating the service department, administrative branch of the village, police department. Even though we have some police levies on the ballot, we are already passed in the past, we still need additional funds to operate the police levy. Police department.
I was just going to ask, you had made mention that the police and fire, anything safety related like that, is also a part of this, but they do have their own funds and levies to go on. Correct. As well.
Right.
As you were saying earlier, that obviously this is a part of the general fund. Let's go on the good side, bad side. The good side, were this to renew, obviously there is no effect on the taxpayer. How does it affect you positively if were this to pass? I mean, obviously,
Well,
all things, ship still sails as normal, correct?
Yes, and we sleep better. And so, it would be a difficult situation that the village would be in if this were not to be renewed. And so, like I said, the main thing is you wouldn't see any changes. We don't have any more money to spend. Things would be pretty much the same as they are. And that being said, though, costs do go up. And so there are things, for instance, we're not going to continue probably to operate the post office by the village, which will end up being a savings of $18,000. Although the state made a change in some of the taxing of, I think it was business taxes or utilities. I'm not totally sure exactly what that was. And of course, Yvonne was here. She'd work those numbers every day, so she knows. But our state income tax, or the income tax that we get from our residents as a result of this state change, we're probably taking a hit of roughly $18,000 this year. I will add one thing else. We do have a voted bond issue that'll be paid off this year that we passed 20 years ago for curb replacement in the village, and that was a 3.59 mil levy. And general fund levies have reduction factors to them. Bond levies don't have reduction factors. And so the residents will actually see a savings for a $100,000 house of about what this renewal levy will cost because the bond issue will be paid off, and that will be a $185,000 reduction in their property taxes.
And at that point, as we were saying, there's no increase, so we're not seeing any of that, but at least we're seeing an offset, and it's not putting a burden onto the village residents at this point.
Right. And actually, another thing that Yvonne had just given me, since 2015 through 2018, we will have a reduction between the street and the swimming pool levy rebuild that was paid off last year, and some of our debt costs, savings of $451,000 since 2015 through 2018.
With the sounds of that, of a lot of payoff, obviously it sounds like you're no longer really asking a lot of the resident any longer on that.
Right.
As we know how dire and important the general fund is, were this to be renewed today, or in November, I'm sorry, that does not go back up for another 5 years, correct? If in 5 years we see so much an offset, obviously it still needs to be renewed, but do you ever foresee a time in which you would have to ask the residents for an increase in this type of levy?
Well, I can't for sure say that'll not
I know it's
happen,
a crystal ball question.
But so it probably isn't going to happen unless the state does something else to us, like they've cut funds to the villages and cities in the state of Ohio. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But barring any unforeseen catastrophe, at least as long as I'm mayor, I don't think we're going to see any increase in the general fund levies. We have two levies, and we renewed one last year, I think it was, and then this one. I can't really say for sure.
Sure.
But I don't think it'll happen.
We've discussed that obviously the police, fire, road maintenance, things like that are a part of the general fund.
Well, no, actually.
Not. However, what other pieces of the village, for those who are unaware, are actually affected by this general fund? Obviously, probably most of the municipal building itself.
Right, the municipal building. We use some of the general fund monies to help subsidize the swimming pool and the golf course. Leaf collection is paid for out of this. The brush pickup that we do every Monday in town is covered by this. Mowing the parks and village property is covered by this kind of funds.
That is a large number of items that are looked as luxuries for many municipalities. A lot of places have actually gone away from many of those items, unfortunately, right, and have done services outside of that. Is that something that the village would want at some time consider, or because of the standings that we are, is that something that's not truly on the plate to ever really consider?
Well, it would have to be considered if this levy failed, but we've been doing leaf collection and brush pickup for so many years that I would like to see that keep on going. And but like I said, if the levy failed, we would have to make some hard decisions as to what we would cut back.
Sure.
This amount of money would pay for probably 2.5 full-time police officers. We only have 3 full-time people in the service department now, so you couldn't cut much there. It would be a tough decision to make.
That being said, it sounds as if we're on that cusp of a very good, but were this not to be a renewal, it makes it very difficult for the village council to make some hard decisions.
Right. Yeah.
Obviously, these are discussions that, as you said earlier, this is a renewal that if it were to pass, we can sleep better at night.
Right.
Looking at the bad side, obviously we have to. How quickly could you foresee some of these changes happening? I mean, leaf collection is important to people. Brush collection is important. Yeah. Cleaning of the grounds is important.
Right. Yeah.
Looking for the quality. Where do you balance looking for the quality of the resident versus the dollar that you have left?
Yeah. If it were not to pass by the early part of next year, some decisions would have to be made as to what we would do, whether we'd lay off anybody or. And since the biggest cost of all the village functions are personnel, mm-hmm. And we've cut down over the years. When I came to the village back in the 70s, we had 10 people in the service department, and we're down now to 3. And we had actually, I forget how many policemen, we're at 8 full-time, I think, right now. And we had 1 more full-time policeman back in the 70s than we had today. We had more part-time people back at that time period. So we've made numerous cuts over the years and still tried to deliver the same basic service and quality of life to our residents.
If we were to look back 5 years ago when this was put up again, or previously before this, would you say our life has improved greatly from that renewal to where we are today? And were it to renew, obviously, would that grow and help prosper the village?
I wouldn't say there was much of an improvement over it because it was pretty much maintaining the status quo. 5 years ago, we were taking in a significant amount, a larger amount of money. We had an inheritance tax, and thankfully, with the Alzheimer's Center in town, we were averaging a couple $100,000 a year of income in the inheritance tax, and that went away when the state changed that. And we probably, I think, lost $40,000, $50,000 in state and local government funds when the governor bailed out the states and made the state budget look good, but hurt the rest of the municipalities in the state of Ohio. It's just a struggle to, in my opinion, to maintain what our village has. Sure. And, I've always tried to spoil residents by providing services at an affordable cost to them. Mm-hmm. But you go to a number of other communities and they don't have these kinds of services. And that's including some towns that their taxes are even higher than our taxes. I have a son that lives in another community, and he does not have regular brush pickup. He has to haul that somewhere if he wants to get rid of it. And that would be a real chore for residents, since we're a tree city and we have parks and trees everywhere, and most of the people in town have mature trees on their properties, and so that, it's a big job.
And green is in your name, so
right,
it is rather important.
Yeah.
I think on that I'll let you make one final note on the levy, but I think you've made one great and valid point. You spoil your residents. That something like this, being able to fiscally look at things, again, this is a renewal for those who are still watching. And for those who are also interested, there was no registered opposition as well. That is why we are still providing this forum here, so that people can be informed of the item that is on the ballot. So, Mr. Moore, one last plea for our residents.
Please support us, continue to support us, and we'll still try to keep doing the best job we can for our residents, and ask for their vote for this renewal.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Moore. And I want to thank all of you for watching us as well. We have done our part, and it is now time to do yours. You can gain more information in regards to any and all issues that are affecting you in the city by watching all of our election forums, as well as going to boe.hamilton-co.org. That is the Board of Elections website. There you can get more information in regards to the issues and candidates, as well as from our forums as well. If you are still interested to know that early voting does begin on October 11th, so if that is a service that you are interested in, please look into that as well. General election, of course, is November 7th, and polls will open at 6:30 a.m. So we do these forums so that you can get the information, do the right thing, and vote on November 7th. Waycross
And that's how we
takes no
do it.
position on candidates or issues. We conduct these forums so that our viewers may be better informed voters for the November 7th election.